Let's take a moment to look at a few more identities. The question I'd like for you to answer is the following. Will the cosine of the sum of two angles be simply the same as the cosine of one plus the cosine of the other? Is it that easy? Or is it something different? So let's look at something that we can actually do by hand. I've selected the cosine of 30 degrees plus 60 degrees. Alright, so we know how to do this because we know that 30 and 60 add to 90 degrees. And we know that the cosine of 90 degrees is 0. Okay. Now if I do these individually, the cosine of 30 degrees is root 3 over 2 from your triangles. And the cosine of 60 degrees is 1/2 also from your special triangle. And we can see that those two values do not add together to give us 0. So the answer to this question is no, it's not that simple. Okay. Now in your ebook, the author of the text has carefully derived what actually is true, and I would like to make a note of it here. For example, what really is true is that the cosine of the sum of two angles is the cosine of the first times the cosine of the second minus the sine of the first angle times the sine of the second. So it's not as simple as you might think. Okay. Now, likewise, the subtraction formula for cosine fits a similar pattern. It goes cosine of the first, cosine of the second, plus sine of the first, sine of the second. You may make, just for mental notes, that the cosine, subtraction, and addition formulas, that the middle sign, S-I-G-N, changes. Okay, so I say it like this: cosine, cosine, change the middle, sine, sine. Now in the same set of derivations in your ebook, you can see the formulas for sine of a sum and a difference, and the sine formulas fit the following pattern: sine of the first, cosine of the second, keep the middle, cosine of the first, sine of the second. And then here you can see sine of u minus v, sine of u, cosine of v, keep the middle, cosine u, sine v. Okay, now I would say that these two, it's up to you, these are optional, the tangent formulas, because you know that sine of an angle divided by cosine of an angle is the tangent of the angle. So if you know the addition subtraction formulas for sine and cosine, then you can produce a value for tangent. So let's use the identity to rework the question I asked you. The cosine of 30 degrees plus the cosine of 60 degrees using the addition formula for cosine. So it would be cosine of 30 degrees, cosine of 60 degrees, minus, in other words, we change the middle, sine of 30 degrees, sine of 60 degrees, filling in the values from our special triangle, the 30, 60, 90 triangle. We can see cosine of 30 is root 3 over 2, cosine of 60 degrees is 1/2, sine of 30 is 1/2, and sine of 60 is root 3 over 2, and voila, it does give you the value 0 that we know we should get. Okay, so please look at the ebook for a detailed derivation of the addition subtraction formulas, and then meanwhile memorize the patterns of at least the sine and the cosine formulas.